So this is our Green Tara Circle, and this is such a beautiful place for people to come and settle and collect their thoughts before they walk the labyrinth. And it's actually a lovely place to come and sit, full stop, because it's the first place in Te Moata where we actually hear the stream, the first circle. So it's really lovely to sit and hear the stream and hear the birds and kind of come into our bodies and come into our present moment.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's really gorgeous.
Beautiful.
And it's called the Green Tara Circle in honour of Tara, who is the bodhisattva of wisdom and compassion.
Yes.
And so it's really got the energy of the bush and compassion and kindness. And we were gifted by the Waitaha people, who are a Maori tribe who really hold the walk of peace and love. And they've gifted us a really beautiful punamu, which was really special to the Waitaha family. And it's called Hine Punamu. And it's a beautiful piece of greenstone, which again is really holding the energy of wisdom and compassion. And many people like to come and touch the stone or pat the stone before they walk the labyrinth as well, and also, to really centre themselves also.
Beautiful.
So you'll see we've got a really lovely little bush garden, and this is Hine Punamu, a beautiful piece of punamu or greenstone gifted by the Waitaha.
That's very special.
So when people are ready, they wander down the path to the labyrinth. Do you want to come on?
Beautiful,
down?
yes, let's go.
I'll put in front of you.
So I'm going to take you down to a seat which is in honour of Sunny. It's got Sunny's name on the seat because for many years Sunny has been the keeper, the guardian of the labyrinth, and Sunny's been tending and sweeping and really giving lots of love to the labyrinth. So this seat here is in honour of Sunny.
Oh, beautiful.
And we have two other seats around the centre. One is in honour of Mani, who actually, I'll tell you all about Mani. She did lots and lots of the hard work finding the site for the labyrinth. And our other seat is for the third guardian, Maya, and that's in the Remu circle.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
So Mani and Sunny and Maya were all guardians of this retreat centre, so they were running this retreat centre in leading up to the millennium. And Jessie and Mish came with a portable labyrinth which was on a parachute cloth.
Okay, yep.
And they laid it out actually up by the centre, and we walked it on New Year's Eve. And it was such an amazing experience for us. It was the first time I'd ever come across a labyrinth, and for many of us there, it was the first time.
Yes.
And we were so blown away by it that my husband took off his hat, and the next day he said, "We've got to collect some money so that we have a labyrinth at Te Moata. We must have one." And everyone went, "Yes, we need one." So that kind of collected, I think, maybe $350, and it was the seed. And it was like, right, we've got that, we must do it now.
Oh, beautiful.
And so that was a spark. And then Mani, who has amazing energy, who really gets things done, she's been really the force behind all of the circles, the labyrinth circle, the Remu circle, and the labyrinth. So she actually was looking for a site for the labyrinth, and first of all she found the site quite near the centre, but when she cleared the site, which was covered in bracken, which is about shoulder height, it turned out that actually the Remu trees were so beautiful, and the distance was actually a bit too small. So that's become our really beloved Remu circle, which is a fire circle. And then she came down to this site, which was a slope, and it was covered in gorse. It was like head height gorse. So it's actually a very big transformation to go from a gorsey slope and 20 years later to be held in the bush as it is now.
Beautiful.
So there were working bees, many working bees clearing the gorse, and working bees clearing the land by hand, like flattening it by hand. And the desire was always to have a very earthy labyrinth, you know, really held by this beautiful bush. Because the land of Te Moata, we really, so many of us just love the land of Te Moata and really feel it grounds us and really supports us in whatever we're doing. And it's very much like that with the labyrinth. We feel the labyrinth is just so held, and the bush and the stream.
And can you
everything
tell me
around
what
us.
some of the materials are that are used to make this fit in so beautifully here?
So for the paths, we've used clay from this area, from Te Moata land and very nearby. And then the paths are stones that are collected locally, like little handheld stones. And also there are really beautiful pottery, we call them labyrinth stones. We've handmade them in Mike O'Donnell's Tarariki pottery in Pairo. And we had a working bee where we rolled the clay in our palms, and then he had a stamp and we pressed the stamp. And so each of those tiles has got like our finger marks underneath. So if you lift them up, you'll actually see people's palm prints underneath.
Oh, so special.
So it's like each of them has been individually held and intention put into it as it was stamped and held and fired. So the paths were initially made with the locally collected rocks and the handmade labyrinth stones. And then over time, the moss appeared. And for a while it was, the moss, do we get rid of the moss? And then there were many of us, no, we love the moss. And anyway, the moss has arrived, and we love the way that the moss really adds to the earthiness and even the ancientness
It really
of the
does,
labyrinth.
yes.
Sometimes we have to trim it because it actually does move into the paths, and it makes the paths a little narrower. But, you know, it just really grounds the labyrinth.
Beautiful.
So very earthy. We have made one major change since the start, in that we used to have little red pebbles, like scoria, in the lunations.
Okay.
But in the heavy rain, they would wash out.
Right.
And so Sunny had a working bee some time ago and put in the coloured concrete, which is much more permanent.
Nice, yeah.
So it's very
Yeah.
earthy, quite fragile in terms of we can easily knock stones off, and in summer it can crack, in winter it can get mushy.
Right.
Sometimes it needs repair, but so it needs a little maintenance, much more so than a concrete labyrinth, but we really love the earthiness of it here in the bush.
And I find it special to have to maintain it like that and work with it, because it's putting
It does.
that intention back into it.
It really
over
does.
and over again.
Yeah, it's like an act of love pouring into the land.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely, it looks like it's just being held in this space with the trees, and you can hear the stream. It is so special.
Yeah. It's so beautiful to be supported by nature.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, enjoy.
Thank you.
And it's pretty special. We have our Labyrinth Day today.
We do.
So lots of people coming who have never been before.
Yes,
and
close to 60 people coming to experience
it's
this.
exciting.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, may it be a blessing
Yes, absolutely.
and a joy.
Can I ask how Labyrinth have changed your life?
Yes. Yeah, labyrinths have really changed my life, actually. So I really love Te Moata, and having a labyrinth at Te Moata here has just been a really great joy in my life. And it really, every time I walk, I am reminded of the simplicity of my being and just so much gratitude. For me, they're the main messages that I keep coming back to, simplicity and gratitude all the time. So that's ongoing in my life, and it's so good to have that reminder. But going back from the first labyrinth I walked here on the parachute cloth, it was beautiful. And then about a month later, Jessie also took that labyrinth to a women's gathering. And when I walked that labyrinth, I took in a really big question, which was looking at whether I would have children or not. And I was adamant I was not having children. Mm-hmm. And I'd never had a desire to have children. I was quite independent and wanted to travel and tramp. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so I took that question and I thought I'll have a really good look at it, thinking I know what the answer is anyway. Anyway, I stood in the centre of that labyrinth and looked at my life from the end back as if I hadn't had children, and I was totally happy. And then I looked at my life backwards if I did have children, and I was quite flabbergasted by that process of being in the centre of the labyrinth. And it was like it was just like such a journey looking back on my life, and the feeling was that I had so much more to learn if I chose to have children, and that I would learn to be much more giving and generous and open. And I went, oh, I can't really say no to that.
And you have 2 children.
I have 2
now.
children. So I went home to my husband and said, because he used to say to me, it'd be so lovely to see you hold a baby. And I went, that ain't going to happen. And I went back and went, do you still think we could have children? Because he has 6 other children.
Oh wow.
And
yeah.
and he took a couple of days and he went, yep. And a year later, my son was born. And he's now
so
19
sweet.
and my daughter's now 17. And yeah, what a joy. For me, that was a great decision. Yeah. So yes, the labyrinth has really changed my life in that way. I also, when I was pregnant with my son, so that's 19 years ago, nearly 20 years ago, though I didn't know it, I didn't know I was pregnant actually at that time, but we got married in the labyrinth when we got married in the centre of the labyrinth. And about here, we had 2 musicians playing a cello and a guitar, and Simon and I came down and we walked in before our guests came down. So we were in the centre when everyone proceeded down, and we blessed each other with water from the stream here, and we gave each other flower garlands. So yeah, being married here in the centre of the labyrinth is such a beautiful thing to look back on. So yeah, my children and my marriage here, it's been quite pivotal in my life. And continues to be with me regrounding myself and refocusing. Yeah, I love it.
Beautiful story. Thank you for sharing.
Welcome. Yes, I told my son recently when I was telling him about this labyrinth day, I said, you know, you probably wouldn't have been round if I hadn't walked a labyrinth.
A lot of things probably wouldn't happen if people hadn't walked a labyrinth.
Yeah.
Yeah.